briefly go over some legal considerations and some important U.S. drug legislation. So the first one that we want to talk about is the Food and Drug Act, or the Pure Food Act of 1906. So in 1906, Congress enacted this Pure Food Act as the first U.S. law to protect the public from mislabeled, dangerous, or harmful food and drugs. So this named the United States Pharmacopoeia and the National Formulary as the official drug standards and established the FDA. And this authorized the FDA to determine whether drugs were safe and effective and to be able to enforce those standards. In 1914, you had the Harrison Narcotics Act, and this was the first federal legislation designed to stop addiction and dependence. And what it did was establish federal control over importation, manufacture, and sale of opium and coca plants, otherwise heroin and cocaine, and all of their compounds and derivatives. And it also established the word narcotic as a legal term. Now, your Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938 updated the Pure Food Act, and what this did was it required labels to list the possible habit-forming properties and side effects of drugs. It also authorized the FDA to determine the safety of drugs before they marketed, and required that dangerous drugs be issued only by prescription by a physician, dentist, or veterinarian. The Harrison Narcotics Act and all further drug abuse amendments were superseded by the Controlled Substances Act of 1970, and this classified your drugs with abuse potential into 5 schedules by weighing a drug's potential for abuse against its medical usefulness. So, example, a Schedule 1 has a high potential for abuse but no accepted medical usefulness, whereas a Schedule 5 drug has little potential for abuse and has recognized medical use. The Food and Drug Administration Modernization Act of 1997 further amended the FDA Act relating to the regulation of food, drugs, devices, and biological products for the 21st century, characterized by increasing the technological and trade and public health complexities there. Now, what this did, it kind of included your DEA as enforcement, your Federal Trade Commission on the advertising, the public health services, regulating biological products like vaccines and things like that. So all of these agencies kind of work together to create these drug standards and to hold companies accountable for those drug standards. Now, when we're looking at new medication development, the FDA is responsible for testing it and ensuring that these medications are safe before they come to market. So there are a couple of phases in this testing. So phase 1, the primary purpose here is to determine, is it safe, or what is the safe dose in humans, is it toxic, and what are the pharmacokinetics? So basically, what does your body do with it? Right? Phase 2 is going to find the therapeutic levels and to watch for toxic or untoward side effects, and to make sure we really have that right level there. Phase 3 is to refine the dose even more so and make sure that we are getting the maximum effect with minimal dosing. And then phase 4 is your post-market analysis, and so this is with a conditional approval. The medication is being used and the FDA is monitoring to make sure that it is staying safe and that those the testing studies were accurate. Now, with your schedules, all Schedule 2 through 5 drugs required locked storage and record keeping and controlled waste procedures. It's important to know wherever you're working, what those procedures are, because this will cost you your license if you don't adhere to the regulations. If you have a controlled waste, which means you've got a controlled substance that you have extra of and you've got to waste it or dispose of it, you have to have verification by a witness or return the unused or damaged container. Okay, always check your medications for any signs of tampering. Unfortunately, it does happen. There are people who have withdrawn, let's say, fentanyl from a vial and replaced it with normal saline. So always look and make sure that it does not appear that your medications have been tampered with. And also make sure that you keep all of your medications temperature controlled. Some medications will have adverse effects if they get too hot or too cold, and we don't want to do that to our patients. As far as the actual schedules, so in the United States, Schedule 1, no recognized medical use, high abuse for potential, and it's allowed for research use only. So this will be heroin, LSD, ecstasy, methaqualone, things like that. Your Schedule 2, you have to have written prescriptions, and there are no telephone renewals. This is your oxycodone, morphine, fentanyl, hydrocodone, amphetamines, Ritalin, things like that. Your Schedule 3 is your codeine mixes, other lesser stimulants, ketamine, barbiturates, things like that, some of your steroids. Your Schedule 4 is your things with small amounts of opiates like your tramadol, stimulants like your phentermine, which is usually more of an appetite suppressant, your benzodiazepines. And then Schedule 5 is where you have, some small amounts of opiates, like this is like your antitussives or your antidiarrheals, where it's in combination with something else. Now, when you are completing the controlled substance log on any of these substances, you need to make sure that you include the date of the medication administration, the patient name, the medication name, because you often will carry more than one controlled substance, the medication strength, the dosage form, how you gave it, how much you gave, how much was wasted, if there was any, and the name of the person who administered it, the name of the person who watched the waste, and the person who did the wasting. So you have to have your witness name as well.